Atlanta is holding its breath tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What began as merely another altercation in the jailhouse has now devolved into a criminal drama fit for Netflix. The life of King Harris, the son of rap icons T and Tiny, is actually in jeopardy as he lies in the intensive care unit. And it's a straightforward but sinister question that is ripping the internet apart. Is this a well-planned takedown or just a horrible accident? Physicians are discussing organs in whispers. Failure. The nurses won't leave his side. Additionally, supporters are saturating Twitter with hashtags such as #JusticeForHarris and #PrayerForking. Here's the worst part though. King's injuries don't add up to a typical fight, according to leaked reports. Not at all. We are discussing wounds from torture. Intentional, purposeful violence that only occurs when someone wishes to communicate. As if it couldn't get any darker, there are allegations that masked people have entered his hospital room and are messing with the machines. Anonymous sources whisper, audio leaks fall and cameras cut out. It was an order from above. I would like to know if King Harris is fighting for his life or against a system that wants to keep him silent forever. The offspring of celebrities have never benefited from the attention of celebrities. However, it seems as though the spotlight has turned into a blazing magnifying glass that is focused on King Harris, the son of renowned rapper T, and his every action. The entire internet has gone silent in anticipation of updates that might alter everything, following the stunning news that King's health has gotten worse in the intensive care unit. What started off as just another night of uncontrollably dramatic events has turned into something much more sad. Additionally, the Harris family is now going through the most difficult 24 hours of their lives. However, how did we arrive here? How did a well-known, affluent, and privileged young man end himself battling for his life in a hospital bed while his mother, Tiny, and father, T, look on helplessly? There is more to the solution than a single viral headline. We must go back in time to the sequence of events that led to this tragic tale in order to fully comprehend its disarray. Took King Harris into a storm for which no family could ever be ready. It all started with an event at the jailhouse that was meant to stay under wraps. King, who was already under investigation for his careless actions, got into a violent fight while being held. Fans initially believed it to be just another epic eruption, the kind of thing King was already known for. However, as additional information became available, the gravity of it became hard to ignore the problem. Insiders claim that King was ambushed within the establishment. The remarks that were exchanged in the heat of the moment did not start this conflict. This was ruthless, destructive, and well-planned. King never saw it coming, according to family sources. He was standing in the common area 1 minute, and then he was surrounded by fists and mayhem. The guards stepped in late, and King had already sustained injuries that were more worse than anyone had anticipated by the time they dragged him away. The response from the internet just made the situation worse. Rather than supporting King, trolls used the tragedy to create memes. The narrative was misrepresented by gossip blogs to get clicks, and even old friends exploited it against him. For a young man who is already drowning under the gaze of the public, it was an intolerable shame. However, the extent of King's injuries was not immediately apparent to the public. Physicians soon saw that his injuries went beyond minor scrapes and bruises. His inside injuries needed to be treated right away. The Harris family's horror started at that point. King was taken from the holding facility to a hospital and placed in the intensive care unit within hours of the altercation. For T.I., a dad who has established his career on being resilient, tough, and untouchable, This was the tipping point. Although he has never shied away from attention, neither celebrity nor wealth could protect him from the sight of his son lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines. According to those close to the family, T.I.'s tough demeanor was shattered by the dreadful prospect of losing his son, and he broke down in private. However, Tiny is said to have remained at the hospital for days, supporting King during each process, each examination, and each doctor's update. There were a lot of theories on the internet after King was admitted to the intensive care unit. According to others, King's persistent quest for attention and turmoil had now caught up with him as a result of his reckless lifestyle. Others maintained that there was more to the narrative, implying that the attack had gang-related motivations, conspiracies, or even hidden foes. However, as the internet argued, the Harris family was left begging for a miracle within the next 24 hours and holding on to hope. There has been fear in that intensive care unit every hour. Physicians cautioned the family that whether King's body could recover from the inside damage would be determined by the next day, or the next 24 hours. There was hope for recovery if his condition improved. The repercussions would be disastrous otherwise. And that's where the tale begins, reaches its darkest point. Because outside those gates, King's name was being dragged farther into the muck, while his corpse lay still in that hospital bed. Startling leaks started to surface. Unsettling allegations, confidential discussions, and even rumors regarding King's mental health prior to the assault. The media focused on the scandal rather than King's health, portraying him as a careless star child who caused this for himself rather than as a victim. For supporters, it's been heartbreaking. Haters have found it amusing. And it's been terrible for the Harris family. Part 1 of this terrible story puts us on the brink of doubt because, as T.I. himself reportedly informed close pals, this ain't about fame no more. This ain't about music. This is about my son's life. Harris, King's condition is in jeopardy. The Harris family is going through a nightmare that no parent should ever have to go with, and the internet isn't stopping its speculation. However, there is still one terrifying question as we move into the following chapter. What actually took place in that prison? And who desired the stillness of King Harris? Although King Harris battles for his life in the hospital, the true battleground lies beyond those gates. In the harsh echo chambers of social media, the realm of public opinion and gossip websites. By analyzing every aspect of his attack, his way of life, and his family's reputation, the internet has taken on the roles of judge, jury, and executioner. Nevertheless, one eerie question keeps coming up amid the ceaseless cacophony. What actually took place in that prison? Because official sources state that King was beaten by several prisoners in what seemed to be an unplanned altercation. Anonymous sources, however, have presented a far more negative image. According to them, King was singled out on purpose, and rumors about his last name and well-known father made him a prime target for others trying to sneak inside. According to one terrifying notion, this was more than just a battle. The goal was to silence King before he could provide more significant information. That's where things stand. Take a dark turn. A number of jailhouse messages that had been leaked started making the rounds on the internet shortly after the incident. Screenshots of purported voice notes, phone messages, and even severely blurred video footage suggested a conspiracy theory that King might have accidentally come across the wrong individuals or talked too freely about inappropriate topics. Was keeping secrets in mind here? Was T the target of the warning shot? Or was it just a sad instance of a young man losing his temper? Put him at the wrong moment and in the wrong place? These rumors have been like salt on an open wound for the Harris family. Although Tiny has refrained from making public remarks, family friends disclose that she thinks the attack was not an accident. "Someone was trying to harm my child." According to one insider, her voice broke as she spoke. In the meantime, T has said nothing, but those who know him well understand that his silence does not imply weakness. He has been calling people, pulling strings, and attempting to piece together the truth about who had the audacity to hurt his son behind the scenes. The hospital's updates, meanwhile, continue to be bleak. King's condition has not stabilized, and doctors have put him under close supervision. Despite his youth and strength, the trauma has left his body dangerously weak, and inside injuries are still making his recuperation more difficult. The following 24 hours are still considered essential. However, the fact that the internet has become a circus just makes things more difficult for the family. Many users are making fun of King rather than supporting him. TikToks reenacting the brawl in the jailhouse, hashtags making fun of his situation, and memes showing him in the intensive care unit have all gone popular. It's the height of cruelty, and it exposes a startling reality about our culture. King's suffering is merely another source of amusement for many. However, other people feel that King is being unfairly villainized in spite of the online ridicule. Although he has made mistakes, his supporters contend that he is not deserving of this degree of brutality or humiliation. They draw attention to the fact that he is only 20 years old, still navigating life, and battling the tremendous weight of being a legendary son. King doesn't have the luxury of making mistakes in private like other youngsters do. Every argument, every utterance, and every slip-up is magnified by millions. This is where the story gets even more tragic, though. The horrifying audio that was purportedly captured inside the jail started to surface online just as the family believed things couldn't get much worse. Voices can be heard yelling, teasing, and threatening King in the video. Despite being shaky and unconfirmed, the audio depicts a terrifying scene of premeditation, as if the attack was planned for humiliation rather than being random. Some fans think that the Harris family's strong belief that there is more to the story may be explained by this released audio. Who was responsible for this arrangement if it was one? More importantly, why? On the internet, theories have proliferated. Some accuse envious prisoners who sought to make a name for themselves. Others think the incident might have been influenced by rival organizations outside the jail to send a message to TI. The most sinister argument, however, contends that King's vocal opinions and careless online persona might have made him vulnerable to strong adversaries who wished to silence him. The Harris family, however, continues to endure their ordeal in silence as rumors abound. According to sources, T.I. is still pacing the hospital, the hallways, yelling for updates and yelling at anyone who provides evasive responses. Witnesses claim that at one point he started crying, which is unusual for the man who has made his life's work of being resilient and tough. Conversely, Tiny has been characterized as broken yet uncompromising. Even though her kid is still not responding, she reportedly refuses to eat and instead stays at his bedside, clutching his hand through the tubes and machinery while murmuring prayers into his ear. In a heartfelt post on social media, their daughter Zanique begs followers to refrain from circulating misinformation and instead offer prayers for King's recovery. However, the internet is divided as usual. Half of it is making fun of King's demise, and the other half is spreading conspiracies. In the midst of everything, the Harris family is left holding on to hope and hoping that the coming day will bring progress rather than catastrophe. And this is where the cliffhanger occurs. Startling indications indicate that another video from inside the jail may soon surface while King lies in the intensive care unit, vulnerable and unconscious. This video allegedly shows King being ambushed at that same moment. And if it is made public, it has the potential to either solve the mystery or permanently damage the family's reputation. Because if the video shows that King wasn't merely a victim, but that he might have started the altercation or participated in whatever darker, the Harris family might never fully recover from the ways the internet will rip him apart. However, if it reveals that King was singled out, it may reveal a plot that extends much beyond that prison's boundaries. In any case, the truth will soon be out. The rest of the world can only wait while the Harris family prepares for the storm. Seeing the public suffering of a family, knowing that by the time when the sun rises, everything can be different. Internet users are holding their breath. Everyone is anticipating the next piece of evidence to surface, checking their feeds, looking through hashtags, and wondering when, not if, it will. The most talked about topic on the internet right now is the alleged video taken inside the jail. Some others say they have already seen samples on obscure websites. Others maintain it's just another fake leak and all hype. But one thing is for sure, real or not, the horror for the Harris family is far from over. Officials' inaction simply serves to stoke the flames. The public is only more convinced that anything is being concealed since jail officials have refrained from commenting, citing an ongoing inquiry. Why don't they simply play the video? Why do fans expect so much anonymity in Instagram comments, Twitter threads, and TikTok lives? Each question that remains unanswered adds another brick to the conspiracy wall. King's health has become much more precarious in the interim. The Harris family was discreetly cautioned by doctors that internal bleeding concerns may escalate at any time. King has responded somewhat physically, but he is still far from stable. It is reported that T.I. mumbled, "This is how you break me," if they wanted to. T.I. was pacing the sterile hospital hallways. However, the internet doesn't take a break for sorrow. Feeds on it. Memes are changing. For influence, fake edits of ICU footage are being circulated. A YouTuber even performed a parody of King Harris's final remarks, which received millions of views in a single day. There are no boundaries to the savagery. However, a darker question lurks beneath the twisted humor. What if these widely shared videos aren't completely fake? What if some of them are founded on information that was leaked from within the jail or hospital? It's important to remember that this is not the first time a Harris scandal has been made public. King has been surrounded by drama for years, from previous family conflicts to his careless live feeds. The distinction is that this time, reputation and disgrace are not at risk. They're concerning life and death. Additionally, rumors of outside intervention intensify as the Harris family suffers. According to anonymous insiders, this action may have been pushed to send a strong message to rival groups that were worried about T.I.'s power in the Atlantic scene. Others claim that jail officials purposefully set this up so that the fight may get worse in return for bribes. Although there are other hypotheses, the suspicion is genuine and it's painted. It's a scary image. However, there is yet another, even more contentious perspective. Some critics claim that King's own conceit and poor choices caused his inevitable collapse. They draw attention to his fight history, his combative online persona, and his contempt for authority. King was more than a victim to them. It was just a question of when, not if, he would explode since he was a ticking time bomb. Is that fair, though? Should a young man be executed for his transgressions? The argument is most heated there. Some believe that this catastrophe occurred because of a malfunctioning system. For a rich child who believed he was untouchable, others see poetic justice. The first hazy clip of the alleged jail footage appears online just as the conflict appears to be reaching its climax. Similar a wildfire, it spreads. The brief 7-second clip seems to the king encircled by several prisoners. The aggression is evident despite the grainy video and awful lighting. You can see the mayhem in those brief moments, with shouts resonating, fists flying, and King slumping against the wall. The world is left yearning for more as the clip ends abruptly. However, that was sufficient. In a matter of minutes, hashtags go viral. Hashtag King versus hashtag Justice Forking received what was due to him. Online, two armies emerge. One defends King as the victim of a vicious plot, while the other makes fun of him as the mastermind behind his own demise. Meanwhile, the Harris family is still in pieces. Tiny posts a heartbreaking message, breaking her silence. "My infant is struggling to survive. This isn't amusement. This is true." Millions of people like the post, but the comments are a battleground for brutality and sympathy. The internet moves like a hurricane, but T adds his own words after that. Shorter but heavier. "Y'all think this is funny? Pray you never feel this pain." Rumors keep coming in. Premature RIP posts have been sparked by claims that King has already died. Others maintain that he has spoken to his relatives and regained consciousness. The Harris family won't confirm or refute any of the updates, and each one contradicts the other.